said socialism is for figs.
Okay.
And it has
While he's calling a gay
the
guy.
A is a fig instead of an I.
My heartfelt apologies to practicing socialists offended by the Che Guevara Socialism is for Figs t-shirt. I know that we should fight bad ideas with good ideas and respectfully debate the merits, virtues, and shortcomings of socialism, as opposed to merely mocking it with a hysterical t-shirt.
Hey everyone, for this video we're going to talk about the conservative comedy of Steven Crowder.
You suck! Get off the stage!
Now, while this video is not going to just be about Joe Rogan, the Serfs already crushed that, I do want to stay on that moment for a second because that was kind of weird. Joe Rogan is generally a really firm gatekeeper on who does and doesn't get to consider themselves a comedian. Like in this clip where he questions John Oliver's comedy credentials.
It's a tough job.
No.
John Oliver guy. He's got a tough job.
I think it's incredibly tough. I think comedians don't get enough credit.
I'm not sure
for
he's
how
even a
tough.
real comedian.
What
I
do you
mean,
mean?
is he a stand-up? Does John Oliver do stand-up?
Is that the barometer for being a comedian? Stand-up?
For us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair to Joe, while John Oliver has certainly done plenty of stand-up comedy, I do not believe that he's ever pretended to be a trans woman, so you got me there. But before I move on, I do just want to say that the thing that absolutely disgusts me about how guys like Joe Rogan and Steven Crowder will talk about comedy is these are the guys who will always go on about how comedians are the real truth tellers, man. Only the court jester gets to laugh at the king, bro. And yet, as soon as they get called out or questions or anything about a joke that they tell, they immediately fall back on, no, it's just a silly little joke. It doesn't mean anything. Don't read into it or question my motivations for making it. And it's like, you can't have both. But hey, whatever. I mean, Steven Crowder does certainly seem to consider himself a comedian. I mean, he does call himself one a lot.
This is weird for me because I wanted me to do a keynote and I'm used to doing stand-up, but
abstinence is the one taboo issue regarding sex. I mean, it's like, oh, be a dirty stand-up comic. You're cracking new ground there, Copernicus. But once you talk about abstinence...
And I did stand-up for a long time. I always knew I wanted to entertain people. And when I saw people like Nick DiPaolo do stand-up, you know, I'd feel bad about myself because I would say, I'm never going to be as good as Nick DiPaolo. I'm a good stand-up comedian. Here's a good example. When I was in Canada doing stand-up, so I would have Deanne Smith open for me, Mike Mayo, I would perform with all different kinds of comedians. All of them were liberal, but I remember back then,
But funnily enough, for someone who's supposedly all about pushing the envelope and insulting people for things like their sexuality and race, Steven Crowder does seem to have a very thin skin when it comes to the topic of his comedy career. For instance, in 2010, Amy Schumer and Steven Crowder appeared together on the Fox News show Red Eye to debate a topic near and dear to Crowder's heart: vole cells.
And the thing is, it doesn't.
But I really do want to do.
But there should be no confidence. And you know, you slip by the dirty comedian thing. But honestly, you call yourself a comedian, but you don't do it that much. Like I go fishing a couple times a year, but I don't introduce myself on TV as a fisherman. Wow. Fisherman. Wow.
Fisherman. Wow. This is not really personal for a concept about abstinence. I'm saying...
Now, while in the interview, Crowder kind of just brushed it off, I have a feeling that little jab may have gotten to him a little bit, since in the years that have followed, Crowder has gone on to make, well, a lot of Amy Schumer content. Now, I think that my favorite of those videos, or at least the strangest one, is the one where Crowder and Not Gay Jared review Amy Schumer's latest comedy special by watching it and running a timer to measure how long she goes without mentioning sex or drinking.
it's all the same bit.
No, just me. I am black.
You got to stop for that one. How long did we go? That was all the same bit, but...
That was 32 from when we started over.
I know we're not being super forgiving.
No.
But what was the rule? Any sluttiness?
Sluttiness.
Sluttiness, like super
Over the
dirty,
top,
over the
vulgarity.
top. Any general whorishness.
And like, this is the strangest and also just least charitable way that you could possibly watch a stand-up special, right? I thought that the special was bad, but what are you trying to prove here? That she's a dirty comic? Got her. I mean, couldn't you do the exact same thing with someone like Jim Norton? And to be clear, I don't think that Amy Schumer's act is particularly brave or important, but as long as there are shitty guys who are gonna say stuff like this...
Guy, this is why, you know, she's pushing with 35, 40. Guys don't want to marry. You can be funny as a girl. You can even be somewhat crass as a girl, but no guy is gonna sit there and watch this and be like, you know what? I want that to bear my children.
I guess that we now need Amy Schumer, so fuck you for that. Anyway, for a comedian, Crowder has some pretty convoluted ideas about what comedy should or shouldn't be. For instance, he got really pissed when Jimmy Fallon apologized for having Donald Trump on his show.
And then they get mad at you for things that you don't do. Like Jimmy Fallon actually apologized in an interview for not being mean enough to Donald Trump. He said, I didn't mean to humanize him. Oh, so you're apologizing for not treating a president inhumanely? This is what the left wants from you?
And yet, he was real pissed at Seth Rogen for telling a story about how exciting it was to meet Justin Trudeau.
Happy. He's quite an amazing guy.
Well, you seem to be very impressed by him, so much so that you cut your wife out of the picture, because I saw that's the picture.
Yeah. Isn't he amazing, that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? Amazing enough to actively support anti-free speech laws under the guise of hate speech laws like Bill C-16, which was passed. Of course, you know this because Jordan Peterson criticized it for its compulsion, its compelling speech. You know how crazy this is? Seth Rogen supports the guy who actively supports and campaigns for this. He's the comedic equivalent of the World War II Jews, selling the other ones out.
Crowder also thinks that liberal comedians are all pandering cowards for telling liberal jokes in the supposed echo chamber that is New York City.
Because it's really easy to go up and make jokes about Christians in New York. It's really easy to go up and make middle Americans seem stupid. So because no one says what Norm says, it's shocking because all of a sudden being a Christian more right-wing is more taboo. We talked about...
And yet, Crowder exclusively performs his comedy at conservative speaking events. It just feels like Crowder has this strange nightmare vision of what comedy supposedly is. One that's constantly shifting and morphing depending on the angle that he's trying to push.
Now, I'll be the first to admit that we've been a little bit cruel when it comes to talking about social justice warrior comedians, and we've given them a hard time. So this time we kind of wanted to figure out, can you be funny without making fun of LGBTQ, STUV, and all that other really weird bullshit? So here we go! We're gonna go into a liberal comedy feminist open mic night, just to see what it's like! Let's check it out!
Hello! Hello! Thank you. So, if you're at this show, you probably know me because I only perform for my friends. And anyone who knows me knows that I love snacking. I love snacks. The other day, I was having one of my famous trademark snacks. I was eating some Cheetos. You know what I said? I was like, oh, hello, Mr. President. Oh, hello, 45. Oh, hello, Mr. Drunk. Thank you. Now, this next joke might rattle a couple cages here, but I'm just gonna say it. God is about as real as gender. Thank you. So, on a more serious note, I was walking downtown the other day and I saw one of these anti-choice protests. You know the kind? They got these big signs of aborted fetuses and a lot of gore, and I just walked by it and I just said the perfect thing. I just go, yikes! That ain't it, Chief. I'm a small little bean. Thank you so much. So, the other day I was in a premarital orgy, but the bottom left. And I'm just like, bottom left? Is this an orgy, or is this the results for my political alignment compass test? Thank you. So, if you'll let me indulge myself a little bit here, and I'm guessing that if you just watched whatever the fuck that was, that you will. Whenever I make these videos, I subject myself to hours of conservative content. Like, I'm not making this up. I watch such a strange combination of left tube and right tube that whenever I get an ad on YouTube, it's just for self-help. But here's the thing. After watching, like, hours of Jordan Peterson, I get it. Like, I see the appeal. After watching hours of Ben Shapiro, you know, less so, but I can still like put myself in that headspace. Steven Crowder is by a wide margin the least pleasant person I have ever seen. Like, it's legitimately upsetting to me to imagine the type of sick mind that watches shit like this.
But then you go and say, well, it's pejoratively, and that's inappropriate. And people booed, and because someone didn't get the joke. So you say that, but you don't really mean it. And that's my issue.
Not true. What I'm saying is, when the word gay has been used as a pejorative for a long time. It's a schoolyard diss. People used to call people gay when they were trying to insult them.
Listen, I said it because I thought you were gay, okay? And frankly, even now, I'm still on the fence. I'll take your word for it.
Then you don't.
And just after watching that comes away being like, sick, yeah, this is dope, this is good. And nowhere, and I mean nowhere, is Crowder less pleasant than in his stand-up comedy.
Of course, I grew up in a high school which was largely Middle Eastern, so you get these Middle Eastern wannabe thugs. You're nice people, but you can't pull off the thug look. Like, oh, you know what? I am going to mess you up hardcore. Hey, check out the German white boy. I wear my nut on the left side. Yes, that's the crit side.
Now, I'd like to delve a little bit into his stand-up comedy. I know, dissecting a joke is like dissecting a frog. It makes you feel like God, and pretty soon that's the only way that you can come. So let's get cutting. I think the biggest thing that sticks out about Crowder's stand-up is how it's completely devoid of any self-deprecation. In literally every joke, Crowder is the cool, smart, normal guy who gets the upper hand over the immigrants, feminists, and vegans he likes to shit on in his act. Now, I've always thought that people kind of get it wrong when they say that such and such a joke is never funny because that would be punching down, and punching down is never funny. For one thing, comedy is art and there's no hard rules in art. But also, comics can generally get around this. You know, if someone were to make a regressive joke, they can pretty easily find a way to frame themselves as the victim. And to be sure, Crowder does this constantly on his show.
We've talked about, and usually you only hear about bullying when it involves some usually gay person who's in the nightly news because they were bullied in school. By the way, I usually don't buy that.
Yeah.
You've got to be the stupidest person in the world to bully a gay or trans person in school. As a matter of fact, I bet you they would say like, hey, Timmy, what are you, gay? Yeah, I'm sorry, don't let the dean know, I'm so sorry.
But in his stand-up, he drops that act a little bit.
She would get out my case all the time. We have this all the time right now. She's like, Steven, okay, driving an SUV, okay, is just like killing your child. Because you're destroying the world that they have to live in their future, therefore it's just like you're killing them. I said, okay, by that logic, driving a smart car is like abusing your child. Because as soon as you drive a kid to school in that stupid looking thing, my kid's gonna beat the shit out of him.
And it's weird to watch. While I don't think that comedy has to be punching up, I think it will come up lacking whenever it's used purely as a weapon without any introspection. Really, the power and the magic of vulnerability in comedy is that it brings the audience into your world, and it helps them empathize and see life through your perspective. But with Crowder, the crowd is already on his side when he's performing.
Sir.
Quick question. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been in the news a lot.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I know you mentioned democratic socialism real quick. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think her biggest fallacy is?
There's no need here for introspection or self-deprecation. In fact, doing so would be a useless obstacle getting in the way of his real objective, which is delivering the message that I am right. We are right.
Now, since that first comedian was a total social justice warrior, dud, we decided to go in there and show him what a real comedian's like. So we got one of our guys to go inside and perform some normal, regular, good old-fashioned comedy.
Hey, come on. Look, what's this? What do I got on? Why am I wearing this? Oh, I'll tell you. It's because I spilled soy milk on my dick. Yeah, that's normal. Okay, you guys seen the news? Gay marriage is legal now. What's next? We're gonna be marrying ISIS? Ooh, I don't want to marry ISIS. Gross. Okay, there ought to be a law against that. Come on. Right? Wordplay? Okay, well, you guys are laughing, but that's okay because I identify as a good comedian. So if you don't laugh, you're going to jail. Yeah. Thanks, Justin Trudeau, or as I like to call him, Just Cuck Trude Cuck. Wordplay. Come on. A little clever. You'll get that one on the way home. Okay, it's a thinker, as we call it in the biz. Now, listen, everybody. Maybe you guys, let me just make this a little bit more obvious, okay? I don't know if you guys are really getting it. One second. You guys are going to love this. Okay, come on. Look at this. Like a lady. Okay? It's like a lady would have. Oh boy, okay. Well, I got one more thing to say. Now, who here's pro-life? Oh. Nobody? Nobody here's pro-life, eh? Well, I guess that's why you guys didn't like the ISIS joke. Okay, you're all a bunch of ISIS aborters. Wow. I'm very pro-life. In fact, I'm so pro-life, I don't even think that dry cleaners should be allowed to give out free coat hangers. You can't just laugh at that one. Oh, you don't deserve my comedy, okay? This is funny. This is funny. You don't get it.
Now, despite those jokes being absolutely hilarious, the intolerant left wouldn't even laugh at them. Yeah, so much for the tolerant left. Crowder, ow!
In a couple of his videos, Crowder's talked about how he got bullied in high school for being a conservative.
Antifa scum, why won't you debate me?
Shut up, twerp. Study the Nordic model. Now give me your Arthur money. I'm gonna redistribute the wealth.
So perhaps it's no surprise that when he's on stage at these speaking events performing for a bunch of conservative nerds, he likes to revel in the fact that now he's the bully. But maybe the better thing to be interrogating from this point on, and I'm not just saying this to be like mean, but what is Steven Crowder's comedy doing? What Crowder does in general could be described as a project of conservative world building. You can see this in any of the videos on his channel. He's constantly describing what the left does. Check out his interviews. When he's talking to someone who isn't explicitly a conservative personality, he always inserts this weird question.
Where would you consider, I don't want to ever misrepresent your views. In your own words, how would you say you line up socially, politically? Would you say left, center left, right, what?
Do you consider yourself a classical liberal, and what's been the backlash?
So you were, after this election, then, where do you line up now? Where are you? Because beforehand, you were kind of, I mean, you saw the Black Lives Matter thing and you talked about the issues
I'm
with
more
that.
libertarian than anything. Probably more left than I am right, if you looked at a giant spectrum.
I don't think so.
At this point, the interview turns really weirdly confrontational until the guest throws out some vague support for some conservative talking point. Until that's done, Crowder doesn't let them move on with what they were talking about. And Crowder is continuing this mission in basically everything that he does. In a really great video by Jose, he talks about how Crowder's Change My Mind videos are so ridiculously stacked in Crowder's favor that they could never be considered legitimate debates so much as they're a simulacrum of a debate, a performance piece meant to be consumed by those who already agree with him to reassure them that they're so much smarter than anyone on the left. In short, the last thing that could ever happen in any of those videos is Crowder changing his mind. And Crowder's comedy does the same thing. Look at how much he panders, how much clapter there is, how hard he insists that these nerds that come to see him are these countercultural badasses. It feels weird to describe a comedy show as performative because, like, obviously it's performative, it's literally a performance, but this feels different. Like, the goal at any of these shows is not to be funny for the sake of funny. The goal here is to be funny to prove that conservatives are funny. A fact which, ironically, is way funnier than anything that Steven Crowder says. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the video. Big thank you to everyone who was involved, who performed in the video or whatever. Big thank you to Steven Crowder for being such a good sport and appearing in the video. You should absolutely check out his YouTube channel at youtube.com/theserfs.tv or follow him on Twitter at theserfs.tv. Also, big thank you to Maya Ben David for reprising her role as the three furries. But apparently some people think that those are three different people. No, they're all one person. Maya Ben David, check her out. Also, thank you to James Elias Island for performing and helping out with the script. And last but not least, big thank you to Will Jarvis for making the music for this video. Also, please make sure to check out Will's music on Spotify, link in the description, and also check out his band Wax Limbs. They're great. And of course, this video would not be possible without the help of my wonderful patrons, especially Balerian, Beth Solman, Brett Long, Comrade Sai, ISO Kun, sorry, I'm not sure, John Price, JP Vari, Mr. Awesome Be Cool, Shoegazer Boyfriend, Villainous Lion, and Will Jarvis. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to become a patron, it really helps out the channel. And you get special benefits, like you get to vote for what topics I'm going to cover, see live streams after they've happened, and get early access to all the videos. Thanks so much, and peace!